So about a year ago, when I was 17, I went to my annual City Comic-Con. I have gone for the past 2 years and always loved seeing all the different costumes, booths, and vendors. I was mostly there for the cosplay. It's always been amazing to see what people come up with when making their costumes. I was going with a friend of mine who was obsessed with Star Wars, and he was going as a last-minute Luke Skywalker, but he was running late because he was still trying to make his boots fit correctly, and I was already at the con, waiting at the commons of the convention center. Now, some things about me. I am about 5'4", and I am very skinny, and I was always dressed up as Veronica Sawyer from the movie musical Heathers. Not a very common costume, but I really liked it, and I also looked like the Winona Ryder. Kinda. I can dream. So, I thought it was a good pick. The costume consisted of a big blue jacket with shoulder pads from the 80s, a short gray skirt, knee-high socks, and a white-colored shirt. I was really proud of it. I also had a huge blister under my cosplay on my shoulder. I burned myself that morning when I was curling my hair for the con. I still have a scar. This is important. I was standing looking on my phone and texting another friend when I heard someone shout the phrase, "Oh my god, it's K-On!" I did not really know what that meant, and I did not think about it after it was said until I felt a forceful tap on my shoulder right where the burn was. I stepped back and winced when I got poked. I then looked up to see this big dude with what I can only describe as a top hat fedora looking down at me. He had a brown shirt on with some character on it from an anime, baggy brown and black pants, and the start of a neckbeard that was blonde and orange. He did not smell, but he did not have any preference for personal space at all. He was about 6 feet tall and was only a few inches from me, looking down, smiling intently. I had no idea what to say to this guy. I looked around then, back at him, trying to figure out if he was talking to me or if he just wanted me to move out of his way. I then stepped back to let him pass, and he moved closer to me. Before I could ask him to move, he opened his mouth and said, "You ain't flinch like Yui! You are adorable! I really want to hug you right now! Can you flinch again?" All in a word waterfall with one big breath and no spaces. Excuse me?" I said in total bewilderment. He then stepped closer to me and bent down to look at my face way too closely for my comfort. "You don't sound like her, though, and the skirt is all wrong. It needs to be shorter, and your hair is too long," he said just as quickly. But now he was looking me up and down with a squint, like he was disapproving of my outfit, as if he was some cool dude in an anime. I then realized he thought I was some other character and explained to him that I was not this Yui character and how I was supposed to be from the Heathers musical movie. He then deadass looked up and down way too slowly, lingering on my skirt way too long, and said, "You know, it's not polite to lie to someone you just met, Yui." I was very confused and a bit creeped out at this point, as he was now staring at my chest. I stepped out of his way and told him I had to leave. He then grabbed my arm and told me he wanted a picture. I stared at him a second and realized I was way too creeped out to say no and did not want to make him upset. I did, however, tell him that I was hurt on my shoulder, explained the hair curler accident, and that's why I flinched. He said he understood and told me he would be careful. He took out his phone, wrapped his arm around me, and took the picture. I told him I then had to leave and made to move when he said, "Can I have just one more?" I said yes, thinking he was just awkward. I posed for the camera, and then he jabbed me really hard where the burn was, and I yelped in pain as he tried to get the picture. I was trying not to cry as I quickly went into one of those doors leading into the hallway. The last thing I heard before I walked away was him saying, "Adorable," in a super creepy way. Please stay safe at cons, especially if you are cosplaying. Cosplay Story 2. Part 1, if you have not seen my first cosplay story, then I highly recommend it because this takes place at the same con, but a few days later. Okay, so characters. Me, dressed as Veronica Sawyer from Heathers, 17, skinny, brown hair and bright brown eyes, short temper but hates confrontation. Ginger Jedi. My friend and I went to this con, skinny, dressed as a ginger Luke Skywalker, and a very good friend of mine. He moved this summer. He's in a better place now. Canada. Completely obsessed with Star Wars and DC Comics. Now, our Neckbeards. Jogbeard. The main beard of the story, bit of a creep. Starbeard. Like talking to Ginger, though I should name him Beardpod. The group of the Neckbeards that Jog and Starbeard were part of now. This takes place a few days after the burn poker incident, and the burn has healed up a bit so it hurts less. I drove my friend Ginger Jedi down to the con with me so we can hang out, see more cosplays, and possibly buy some commissions. I also knew someone entering the cosplay contest and wanted to see it. Anyways, Ginger Jedi and I have been at the con for a while now, about 3 hours, and wanted to get food at the food court in the mall 2 blocks down. We decided to walk there. We did not think it was a bad idea. There were other con-goers walking around the area, so we would not stand out too much. Plus, the mall had a Panda Express, and I'm a sucker for orange chicken. It was also in the middle of summer, super hot out, so I took my big blue coat off when walking outside. I was wearing a button-up white blouse with a black bow tie tucked into a small gray skirt, blue knee-high socks, and black slip-on shoes. I looked like a feminine newsie or some sort of anime waitress if you want to look at it that way. About a block down, I noticed a group of men following behind us. They looked like they came from the con as well. None of them were in cosplay, but instead had on graphic t-shirts, pins, and various cartoon and anime memorabilia. Any of them could grow facial hair, had thin beards, or at least start of them. They were slowly catching up to us, and Ginger did not seem to notice until they were right behind us. Then the one I had decided to call Starbeard tapped on Ginger's shoulder and complimented him on his costume and immediately struck up a conversation with him about Star Wars. He was wearing a black shirt, but was on it, I cannot remember, but seemed to really enjoy talking to Ginger. I walked next to Ginger, not really listening to the Star Wars debate, instead noticing the rest of the beards behind us. I did not mind them much at first, but then they were walking dangerously close to my backside. I started to keep an eye on them and walked a bit quicker. I noticed one in particular kept looking at my skirt and talking to his friend. This made me a bit uncomfortable, so I walked ahead of the group, people trying not to look rude or like I had seen them. I don't like confrontation when things make me uncomfortable. Plus, I could not really prove that they were doing anything wrong, so I just thought I could put some space in between me and them. Yet this plan did not work out the way I had hoped. Of course it did not. I heard him before I saw him, breathy puffs of air growing louder and louder until he was right behind me. He arrives, like a train chugging behind me. Jogbeard came up from behind before I could really understand what the raspy breaths were coming from. He told me to wait up for him, so not wanting to be rude, I did. I looked at him and saw it was the same dude who I thought I had been looking at my skirt, and I was a bit startled and a tiny bit irritated. He said thank you for waiting for him and asked what I was dressed as. I told him I was Veronica Sawyer, but I left my jacket because it was too hot. He said he did not know what that was and told me that he thought I was supposed to be a schoolgirl, and he thought I looked, I kid you not, kawaii. I could kind of understand the confusion and did not hold that against him, but still cringed inwardly at this statement. I thanked him and wanted to walk away, but he kept staring at me, and I did not know if he wanted to say something. He then did the quick eye glance that people do when they do not want to look like they are looking at parts of your body, but they are. I decided to leave when he hit me with this. So, are you single because you have really nice legs and a skirt? Do you do dances because my friend really wants your number? I did not even want to know what dances meant. I stared at him for a solid 5 seconds and said, I hate dancing, without thinking, not even answering the rest of his questions. He did a weird smile at me, trying to be cute, I think, and said he took it as I must be single and meek, and I just have not met someone who can make me dance like he knows I can. I still shudder at the line to this day. I then tell him as nicely as I can I am not interested in a relationship, that I had just gotten out of one, and that I did not want his friend's number. He looked offended, and I freaked out and walked quickly into the doors of the mall before he could say anything else. So much for being polite. He went walking back to his friends, and I met back up with Ginger. We got to the food court. After we got our food, I saw the pot of beards walk into the food court, Jogbeard looking sullen and irritated. I knew he saw me and made sure to look away when he saw me. They ended up sitting a few seats away from Ginger and I. But that's another story.